Damn, that shot was boring. Nowadays it is, but back then it was one of the most insane things a player could do in the Rocket League Championship Series, which isn't what we're going to be talking about in this video, but rather why we all know it. Don't worry, this will come full circle, I promise. Broadcasting, an interesting phenomenon turned from human nature to human nurture, as a mass of people would gather around an object, in this case a game, of communal interest and appreciate it as a society. Wait, that sounds like a... Anyway, the point is, anyone who's played this game knows of this clip. Why? Well, because of this. Broadcasting is taking a video or live performance and uploading it onto the internet. Not the World Wide Web, the internet. They have two very different things. Here are the descriptions. I can't see the descriptions, I just know this off by heart. Now, first off, we have this. This is what actually streams the performance or video to us. So, here's you, the user. Here is the server, or the streaming platform. And then here is the broadcast. And then this little detour is the software. This is what we're going to be talking about first. Initially, we have OBS, Streamlabs, the two most well-known ones, vMix, and XSplit. Now, you know these ones. Everyone knows these ones. They work synonymously sometimes. Like, this one has a live chat that goes into this one, and nothing else is used. For this one, I mean. vMix is sometimes used because we need to stream to different, multiple different sources so that the TikTok kids can watch something longer than 5 seconds. This is because OBS and Streamlabs can only stream to one source. So say this is the broadcast, his YouTube, his Twitch, his Twitter, his Facebook, his Instagram, his TikTok. We don't talk about it. But it can only stream to one of these. vMix can do all 5. The reason OBS is considered industry standard is because of this juicy price tag of completely free. It also has some other features like it's cross-platform, whatever that means, and it's open source. Linux users rejoice. Compare this to vMix, which again is only used when you need to stream to multiple platforms. Damn, that price tag. Alright, now that we've covered why and which software is used, now we move on to the behemoth that is hardware. Ah yes, the world of CPUs, GPUs, RAM sticks and storage. The complicated world that in reality is not so complicated, so let's break it down. CPU, Central Processing Unit. This is like the brain of a computer, and it works by sending and processing signals at a frequency called Hertz. Now, CPUs typically run well over 1.21 gigawatts and can reach up to 3 to 5 gigahertz, which is ridiculous. However, it does depend on which CPU manufacturer you choose. You have either Intel, AMD, or whoever these are. GPU, the Graphics Processing Unit. This is like the optic nerve of a computer. You can't see what it sees, but it can show you what it sees by sending these signals to a monitor. It's also better at processing visual elements on a computer than a CPU, which is why it's a dedicated piece of hardware. This becomes important later on. Next, we have RAM, Random Access Memory. This is kind of like the nervous system of a computer. If you poke this in the wrong spot, it kind of just does that. This little shtick is used for storing memory that isn't quite memory yet, so it kind of just hangs in liminal space until the CPU either picks it up, acts on it, or puts it into storage. The literal backbone to anything and everything on the internet. Without storage, your computer will just, like with RAM. However, this can be less damaging than not having enough RAM, but it's not going to fix itself. You're going to need to install some more storage. Or delete that. Probably delete that. Now, let's look at my hardware. That's right, I have RGB. I'm a real gamer. Anyway, this computer has a Nvidia 3060, Intel Core i7, 16GB of RAM, and a terabyte of storage. And after many hours of trying, this is what I managed to eke out. Pretty dreadful, I know, but that's the point. This is the best PC I've personally ever owned, and I can barely get a recording quality above 720p, let alone for streaming. It is hard and it is expensive, which is why OBS is considered an industry standard broadcasting software. Now that we know of the average person's hardware and software, let's look at what they use to broadcast RLCS. On the software side, the RLCS uses... Well, actually I wasn't able to find out this piece of information. The closest I came to was a post in 2017, which was 8 years ago, but based on the comment it looked like the answer wasn't even there if I did go and look. However, what we can do is take an educated guess on what they did use based on how broadcasting works today. Like I said before, we now stream to multiple sources at once, but back when Rocket League was first being attuned to becoming an esport, we only had YouTube and Twitch, and of course we now have more than YouTube and Twitch. Using this information, we can assume that the RLCS did at one point use OBS and either implemented or replaced it with vMix. Now for the hardware of broadcasting. Do you remember when I said it wasn't that complicated? Yeah, I lied. One sec, let me just get this. NVIDIA RTX 4080, Intel Core i9, 64GB RAM, 4TB of storage. This is just for the PCs that are streaming. They also use Stream Deck, IEM, also known as in-ear microphones, vision mixers, a lighting desk, not a lit desk to hold all of the stuff, cameras of the Blackmagic kind, some high quality microphones and headphones, and a lot of monitors. Combine all that together and you get this. Now, what does broadcasting have to do with RLCS? Short answer, money, but we're here for the long answer. For starters, this video presentation wouldn't exist. And neither would the RLCS, because it's a broadcasted tournament. And to be honest, the game itself probably wouldn't exist either. Now, I am stretching the definition of broadcasting here, but when the predecessor to Rocket League came out, Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Power Battle Cars, or SARP for short, it looked like this. Yeah, it looks like but for the few thousand people that liked it, well, really liked it, so much so to the point where the game developers of it, Psyonix, reimagined the entire game for a few thousand people. There's now over 50 million. Those few thousand people that played SARP initially were given some items that ported over to Rocket League, and it was these ones, the Alpha series. They crashed the economy. Take the controversy from those items and its rapid growth from being a sequel to a game no one had heard of, and 1 year later you get Rocket League earning the title of esport, and the RLCS, where the best of the best would compete for wealth, fame, power. A coloured title 90% of the playbase won't see. In conclusion, Rocket League wouldn't be where it is today if broadcasting wasn't part of its culture. The impact it's had has been tremendous, and the people who were there 10 years ago are still here today. Here are some of the names. Not to mention, some of the greatest moments in the game have come from broadcasts of the tournament that caused the game to be picked up by broadcasting. And that is why we know this is Rocket League! It's still a pretty good shot, I just can't do it.